Akon versus Akoin. With Akon, Akoin, and Dustin Plantholt, Crypterns.
Man, we're gonna have some fun. Like, it's rare that I get to say, literally, I'm on the stage with my brother and I'm here with you.
Are we going to sit or are we going to stand?
Let's sing.
All right,
You wanna
cool.
do it? What do you wanna do? Stand?
It's up to you.
Nah, let's stand up. Let's
All
talk
right,
to
cool.
him.
Let's
And we
stand
can
and sit
walk
on this.
around. I mean, you're a performer, I'm a wannabe performer, and then they have this, I'm not gonna look at the time. You know, I love hanging, I got something for you. I actually do. It's called Primitive, Tapping the Primal Drive That Powers the World's Most Successful People. And I will tell you, you need to be in this book.
Oh, thank you,
Because
brother.
you have been successful on stage, off stage. Now the mindset, because that's how it begins.
Oh,
What
you
is your
signed it.
mindset when you wake up and it's signed?
Thank you, brother.
Like, that's a collector's edition.
Thank you.
What is your mindset?
My mindset? Just get it done, you know? I never really had a fixed mindset, but ultimately when I see things that needs to be done, if I can't physically do it, I find help to get it done. But I have a phobia of seeing things that needs to be done and just getting it done.
Now, priorities though. How do you prioritize? Because I gotta tell you, there are times that even I say, I'm like, he's a little nuts.
Right.
But you always seem to, you don't promise, you deliver. So how do you find the balance?
I think the balance it starts with passion, you know? And I think a lot of people get into things that just happens to be cool, or they get into things because everyone else is doing it. But me, I like to get into things that I actually feel my heart fulfills doing, you know, ultimately. And then I do it for the purpose too. Because I think a lot of people forget that there's another life after this. And I think a lot of people don't take the spiritual side into consideration. And I'm human first. And ultimately, when I feel that my purpose needs to be concealed through something, I just follow through with it. You know, so the passion side is mainly the driver, but spiritually is the biggest driver for me.
So that seems to be part of your fuel. But that's what
100%.
fuels you, because you and I have been together many nights, and I don't know how, I'm telling you, true story, he is a case study, he doesn't sleep. So you're fuel to keep going.
Yeah.
And now your passion, which has been your passion from the beginning, is to look out for Africa. How do you do that?
I believe my purpose is to develop Africa. It's funny because when I first started singing, I never thought that, you know, entertainment would open up doors. Well, these kind of doors. You know, you start off as just wanting to be rich and famous, and then as you become rich and famous, you start to travel, you start to see different things that change your mindset. And then you realize the things that you used to chase after, which is all the fortune and fame, is not that important. Because you see yourself in other people and you see the environments, and I was able to relate being that I was raised in Africa. And then when I moved to America, I saw the different lifestyle and the different, you know, it was a cultural shock for me because I came from being the little kid playing soccer in the sand with no electricity, no running water, to now in America where there's abundance of water, abundance of electricity. I'm seeing airplanes and cars all over the place. Before, I would just see birds and horse chariots. So it was like totally different, you know, but ultimately seeing that environment and experiencing that made me want to go back to Africa and allow my friends to experience the same thing. But then as I became more famous, I realized that life was bigger than myself and my friends, and it was people that needed to experience great things like that as well.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. I know there's someone in the audience that says, well, what if I don't have the same access to funds or wealth, or I don't have a podium? And I grew up in foster care. You know this already. But when you lack resources, you must be resourceful.
Right.
How do I be resourceful?
I mean, Africans, we got to be the most resourceful people on this planet. That's why everybody's born an entrepreneur. Because unfortunately, the resources is very limited in Africa. Even though the potential is probably is the highest peak you can ever find. But the reflection of having no basic infrastructure allows you to be super creative. But then ultimately, you start to realize that you start to settle for what's comfortable. And then the standards become normal. Right? So, because, I mean, you know, think about it. Like, I was happy as the kid living in the village playing soccer in the sand barefooted, right? But then when I got to the US, I saw they was playing soccer with cleats in grass. I didn't want to go back home and play barefooted in the sand anymore because I experienced a more upgraded experience. But it just goes to show that it comes back around to the point of understanding what's comfortable for you, because what might have been comfortable for me in the past is not naturally comfortable to me today because of the experience. And I think life becomes a part about exploring experiences, and then from there just staying as humble as possible for as long as you can. Because as a human, as you experience better things, you get comfortable with those better things. But you also have to remind yourself of where your comfortability lies at the end of the day, you know?
Now, many performers, artists, musicians, I mean, I can tell you he can do everything, beat me in arm wrestle as well, right. Is that they lack the courage, or they can't get over the fear, or they don't think they're great enough, or they suffer from something in this book called imposter syndrome, that it hits them. And so you have success, you have fame, you have all of that and above, and yet I have seen you, when you meet people, you are genuinely interested in them to right. transform their life. That this empathy, is this born? Is this nurture? How does this happen? Is it developed? And maybe you grew up in a different situation. How do I get back to a place of having empathy?
I think empathy comes from background. It comes from, your history and how you was raised, who raised you, the environment you was raised in, the culture you was raised in. Being raised in Africa, it's a little different because we was raised around family. My whole family, we all lived together in one house. We respected our elders. We made sure that your mother was always comfortable, no matter what. You made sure that whatever your father does or tells you to do, you do it with no questions asked. And at the end of the day, your faith was always the beginning of your first step. You move without, you know that your 100% trust in the Most High becomes your main focus of the appreciation of the air that you breathe. So when you start to put your faith and your abilities of understanding the advantage of what your spiritual side gives you, you look at people different. You don't look at them as a competitor, and you don't look at them as someone that you need to fear or someone that would become a stepping stone. You look at someone that you can collaborate with. You look at someone that could be your potential brother. You look at someone that can advise you in times of need. And so people become more of an asset to you. They become more of something that can help guide you to a better process, not someone that you have to hide from or lie to. So it's just different, I think so. When you look at empathy, empathy becomes a part of your structure, your backbone, your DNA, on what you believe life to be, depending on who taught you that.
I heard some words a couple days ago from His Excellency Adnan Al-Nurani, and when he said that most of us look at business, and we think that it's business to business and business to customer, but it's ultimately to the heart.
Right.
So how do I soften myself again? How do I get to a place where I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, yet approachable?
Well, the thing is, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Because life is very simple. You can't embrace the great things in life without embracing the mishaps. It's like, there's no way you're going to enjoy the pleasure if you don't know what pain feels like. Every part plays its role, and there has to be a balance. And the moment you understand and recognize that balance exists, everything else actually plays itself together.
So I'm going to ask you a question on behalf of a fan. And this is good for all of us. When we start a business, a venture, a thing, because it takes 10,000 hours, how many clubs did you have to play before you filled a stadium?
Well, the thing is, when I first started, I was afraid to perform.
I love you, Babs, by the way. And I knew this one's for you.
So I was actually pretty blessed because I was afraid to jump on a stage because I had never jumped on a stage before.
Did you hear that? He was afraid to jump on the stage.
So when my first record was delivered, locked up, it took 2 years for it to become super famous. And I hadn't performed the song at all. So the first time I actually hit the stage was when the song was already famous. And that was the only, and only club that I ever did. And then I felt the experience, and then shortly after that, I went back home to Africa, and I was waited for me by a stadium full of people. So my second show ever was in a stadium.
You know, I love that because I believe that all of us have a story. And every story in our life will have a purpose. And we won't see it in the beginning, will we, Akon?
No, you'll never see it. You'll never see it.
You never saw that seed became that palm tree.
Right.
So tell us now, as you're shifting to this new generation, the next generation that will, quite frankly, come after you and I are long gone, and as His Excellency is also focused on the Future Innovation Summit, I might add. Talk to them. How can we make a difference, and how is Akoin leading that charge into the future?
Well, the thing is, I mean, there's only maybe a handful of the globe that have the gift to see the future. You know, God gives everybody a gift. And seeing the future is not one of them. We can guess the future, we can estimate the future, but no one knows what tomorrow, leads, and tomorrow's not promised. I don't care who tells you what, always remember that tomorrow is a gift. And when you look at technology came to us in a very interesting way because as it's evolving, we don't see the evolution until we're actually in it. And when you see how fast technology is growing, you can't understand it fast enough to be a part. So you almost have to just take a leap of faith to know that the world is going to move to the future with or without you. Don't take too much time thinking about what crypto is, what blockchain is. All that shit is confusing. It's just money. It's just digital money. Exchanged differently with more, instruments attached to give you transparency, to make things more safe, and to ultimately make spending and trading easier, but through a digital phase. Just look at the evolution moving in a way that it's going to be better. But as you understand it, then you yourself can be a lot more creative as to how you now maximize that opportunity.
Thank you for telling us your story. Akon, my brother,
Yes.
I love you.
No, thank you, brother.